Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the afternoon sessions. And as you know, you're right now in one of two expert talks. This is all about hiring and retaining great talent, something that I'm sure naturally is very important for all of us to do to keep that great talent and to find out ways on doing that. Some of us, I'm sure, do it very well. Some of us maybe just need a little bit more guidance how we can certainly do it more in the future. We're going to find out now from an intriguing conversation that's going to happen right now. And I'm going to introduce now warmly to our virtual playground right now, the head of US talent acquisition from Safe Breach, Tina Cuje. Tina, I can see
Hi.
you through. Hello.
I see.
Hi, Tina. How you doing?
Good. I appreciate the introduction. I am sure that you know that we'll be talking with Mawulom today, who is also
Absolutely.
absolutely. He and I have worked together at two tech startups now, so we tend to flow very nicely together. And I think that we've nailed down right what it takes to hire and retain great talent. So I'm looking
Perfect.
forward
So
to
great.
that
Intrigued,
introduction.
intrigued to hear that. Where are you right now, Tina? Love to know.
Absolutely. I'm in the United States, out here on the East Coast in the New York metro area.
Wonderful. Okay, listen, I'll leave it over to you now. Remember, towards the end, if we have any questions or comments, or maybe some people that are watching like to challenge maybe some of what you're saying, I'll come back on in and ask those questions. But for the time being, I'll let you now take over.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So, as I mentioned, I'm Tina Cuje. I'm here in the United States currently as the head of talent acquisition for Safe Breach. We are a hypergrowth cybersecurity startup, and I am here to really help scale the organization, right? Not only in the United States, but also globally, including owning various parts of the HR function, making our comp and benefits stronger, hiring and retaining great talent. How do we do that? How do we compete in today's market, right? So my background is actually working with Fortune 500 to hypergrowth startups across the world, and I generally come in and I train, mentor, develop talent, but also create pipeline processes and just generally implement great systems so we can retain the best talent, because it's not just about, as we know, the compensation side. It is about what we can offer as a resource and how are we growing internally and also in the marketplace. So I'm looking forward to today's chat, and I will hand it over to our expert Mawulom, who can give his own introduction.
Tina, thank you so much. And gratitude to the HR Week team for hosting this session. Hi, my name is Mawulom Nenonene, and I'm a talent consultant currently supporting LTSE and the Built to Last talent firm. What I'm most passionate about is designing equitable and sustainable hiring systems that enable companies to consistently hire. Oftentimes, when I join a tech startup, um, they don't have systems in place, hiring infrastructure, process. And so that's something that I love building and seeing it positively impact the overall organization. And for today's chat, I'd love to actually just dive right in. Since we're going to be talking about hiring and retaining talent, I'd love to start by acknowledging that today's talent market is competitive. The great resignation, as it's coined, coupled with the rapid increase of remote work, are just two of the many factors affecting this landscape. And Tina, you have a unique perspective. Given Safe Breach is a multinational company, I'd be curious to learn some of the trends you're seeing in today's talent market.
Absolutely. So I think many of us are seeing, consistent trends, regardless if you're a 10-person organization or you are, 10,000 employees. But for us, what are we seeing today? We're seeing competition. Even when you're a company like Safe Breach, where we actually created the category of breach and attack simulation within cybersecurity. So we've pioneered this space. Um, we don't necessarily have anyone who's leading in the space, but there's still up and coming competition. So we are competing against even the big names that are not touching on what we do, but McAfee's of the world and private sectors. And so for us, we really need to ensure that the Safe Breach name, even as a hypergrowth startup, is competitive against all of the rest, right? So great branding. Time to hire. Time to hire is a big one for us. I've come in to streamline the process. So we're not taking months at a time, 90 days, 120 days to make a hire, regardless of the level of position. We're being able to compete with every other company out there so we can get a written offer in hand to a candidate before any competition or non-competition, frankly. And then also just competing in this, um, newfound world of now that we are almost 2 years into the COVID era, so to speak. And I won't say post COVID because I think we're still working on that, but we are in a very big remote world, and while SafeBreach was remote prior to COVID, we're seeing companies come up with creative solutions to retain talent, which is, or even attract talent, 4-day work weeks, half day Fridays. So we are not only ensuring that we're remote first here, but we're also trying to create just very competitive dynamic offers overall. So now I'll roll it over to you though, Malum, in my question that I'm interested in hearing from you is, given the competitive nature of hiring, what do you think companies can do to hire the best on a consistent basis?
Thank you. And hiring the best is a challenge. And to begin with, I mean, you and I have been in these situations where we've been asked to hire the best, but hiring the best is subjective. And typically, when an internal team is asking, whether it be a hiring manager, an executive, a founder, or an individual contributor, what they're seeking is to hire a candidate that can do the job and the candidate that can be found quickly. And oftentimes, we measure success in short term metrics through a dimension of cost and time. So, with this grounding, we set out to build repeatable, structured interview processes because in doing so, we will be able to get enough signal for hiring teams to make confident hiring decisions and ideally personalize the candidate experience so that whether or not candidates are hired, they would have a great experience. And this starts even before the role is launched by aligning the internal team on three things. First, the overall goal of the role. What is the intended impact of the position? And then secondly, the deliverables. What the new hire has to deliver to meet those goals. And lastly, the skill sets, the expertise the person needs to have to deliver effective work. By doing so, we enter the dimension of skills-based hiring, and it's dynamic, and it requires that hiring get a sense of the candidate's ability to perform the duties of the role. Thus, I see this as an essential part of building high-performing teams. By building a structured interview process, you can hone in on the signals you're looking for, and then leverage that structure to consistently evaluate the candidates that come across your pipeline. And again, we both use these types of hiring systems in the past effectively. With the current market top of mind, what are some real world changes that you've done or can be implemented to navigate these challenges whilst increasing hiring velocity and still getting the required signal?
Absolutely. I previously mentioned streamlining process, and really that's a big one. I think that we, especially in HR, we need to be the business partners to our hiring managers, and condense interviews, right? We need to cover all of our bases, certainly with interviewing, great talent, but we also want to ensure that we're not prolonging the interview process. So I've come into Safe Breach and I've condensed the interview process, ensuring that candidates meet with the right folks internally that are going to be the most impactful to their day to day, because I know that once they start, they go through a thorough onboarding process. So they'll meet everyone in the organization. And that's easy to say, right? Because we're less than 100 people today. So they will meet with everyone in the organization during their first month here. But condensing the interview process, I am very serious about a world-class candidate experience and making a lasting impact. So regardless if we extend an offer or if we do and the candidate perhaps doesn't accept the offer, I want them to still walk away and feel like they've they've really experienced something top-notch with Safe Breach. They were treated with respect, and even if they don't join us, we know that we've made a really good impact on our brand, and word of mouth is so big. We know that. So I think let's ensure that we really create that candidate experience that's going to make that lasting impact. Um, I talk about streamlining the process. I think for me, it was very important here at Safe Breach to shorten our time to hire, even from start to offer stage, be able to have that offer in hand within even 14 days for many roles. Again, that way, if someone's at mid to late stages with another company, but they're entertaining us, we can actually compete with that potential other offer. Um, Comprehensive benefits, right? I've been able to come in a short time and work with my leadership team in putting together an even stronger benefits package. What does that mean? That means offering 100% paid for healthcare, medical, dental, vision here in the United States. We want to be able to offer top notch healthcare plans, either at a fraction of the cost or completely 100% paid for by the employer, by Safe Breach. Um, Paying towards the higher end of the market. We've pulled the market data, right? We've pulled the compensation data across, especially in the United States. We've pulled it across every state to see what's market competitive, and we're doing this outside of the United States too. We're very large in EMEA. We are growing greatly. We're headquartered in Israel. We've expanded into the UK. So for us, being competitive with our actual cash and incentives, that's important. So we're paying at the higher end of the market and sometimes even above market when we're able to. And then just the last part being, I talk about the healthcare benefits and I talk about compensation, but I think it's equally as important to stay competitive in today's market with the other fine print, right? Unlimited personal time off, health and wellness days, annual L&D stipend. Us in HR, we can appreciate L&D so greatly. And it really makes a difference. I see that our employee base here, they've been so excited to see the new implementations of what we can offer them. And now new candidates, I'm having all of the time say, where can I sign? Just in the last few weeks alone, since I've been able to implement new areas of our package, I have candidates that are just so excited by this because they want to put in the hard work, but they want to be rewarded for that, not only on the cash side, but again, the benefits, the perks, and the whole, you know, life balance package. So I would say that's what I've been working on the last few months that I've been here, and we'll continue to work on that in 2022 and well beyond.
That is phenomenal, and it makes a lot of sense. Creating a frictionless touch point requires a seamless process. So, although you didn't go into detail, I'm confident that there are some streamlined processes behind all of these things that allow you to deliver and the organization to deliver accordingly. And that dovetails nicely into retaining internal teams. Companies at all stages of maturity are now dealing with retention and in surprising ways, given the factors we discussed earlier with the Great Resignation. I believe in August 2021, the number of individuals that quit their jobs in the US was astronomical. And I actually don't have the data for the world, but I believe that this is something that we're experiencing together. And so the interesting things that I've seen organizations do, one is really undertaking talent mapping by realigning promotion strategies, understanding their overall talent source, and a few others. But what's top of mind right now is the overall nuance that feeds all of these channels, and that's having an open line of communication internally. The companies that I've connected with that have those open lines of communication have fared better throughout the pandemic and are faring better now. These companies have lines of communication that are not merely surveys, but regular discussions that and checkpoints from people managers to leadership that nurture open and honest dialogue about growth, compensation, promotions, flexibility, working norms, benefits, as you touched upon, and also continuous learning. The discovery aspect of this is important. It's important for individuals, groups, and departments to be aware of the data required to build systems that will meet their internal team's needs. It sounds like you've done quite a bit in such a short time. So I'd love to learn a bit about the internal retention strategies that you've undergone at SafeBreach.
Absolutely. So, what was already implemented when I joined SafeBreach, we are simply making stronger to ensure that we are retaining our talent. If you look at SafeBreach today, as we mentioned, we're just shy of 100 people, and 50% of our headcount today was hired in the last year, and we are looking to double our headcount numbers within the next 2 to 3 quarters. So it's so important that we get it right now. That way, it's right for the future. So we do 90-day check-ins. I lead our 90-day check-ins. Every new hire, I do a one-on-one with them where I learn the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? What worked, whether it was during your onboarding process. I mentioned we have an extensive onboarding process, which we do. It's, incorporated like many organizations where you do one-on-ones with product and marketing and sales and so on. That way you really learn every area of the business and you can become a subject matter expert. So we do these 90-day check-ins because we want our employees to feel heard. What's working? What's not? What would you like to see better? One of the suggestions that we heard was we do want to see a better healthcare package, and we heard them loud and clear, and we made that happen. I think that when we can allow our employees, regardless of which organization you're in, to feel heard, whether you can make an immediate difference and take the recommendation and turn it around to make something of it, or maybe you can't, but maybe there's a happy medium. I think that's really important to retaining talent, that they feel heard. So we do the 90-day check-ins, which is we've found very beneficial. We do annual performance reviews. I know, this is nothing new, but for us, it's really important to do the performance reviews to go over, MBOs. How are you hitting them? What can we do to help you just continue to grow here at SafeBreach? What does that mean to you? What does growth mean to you? We want to be able to accommodate that if we can. And we do a ton of internal promotions here. We would love to look internally first before externally to see, who might be qualified for that internal promotion. Creating, maybe areas within the business that to utilize someone's strengths so we can retain them. So the performance reviews are big, and we align that with actual annual pay increases. So not only are you seeing where your performance is, it's tied to your pay increases. That way you can really feel rewarded. And again, not only heard, but we're helping you grow even from a compensation standpoint, because that feels good too. The last thing any of us want to do is lose talent because they went somewhere else for a few extra, $1,000 a year. So we really try to do increases, every year to ensure that, again, we are retaining talent, we're staying market competitive or above market competitive. So that's really important for us. So I would say that, those are two things right now that we're doing to retain talent. But I'm also working on, again, not only are we implementing the L&D stipend, that way folks can continue to learn and develop their skill sets. That way they do want to keep those skill sets in-house. But us on the HR team, and we're a small team of 4 people today. We are hiring. I am hiring for my team and growing my team. So hopefully we'll be larger than that over the next quarter. But we are a small team, and we're a strong team though. And we want our employees to know that they can come to us on the HR side. Whether you're having a bad day and you'd like to talk it out, and we can see, how can we help you get the job done, or we just want them to know that they have resources. Our employees are so important to us, and the tenure actually, Safe Breach was founded a little over 7 years ago, but our tenure is phenomenal here. We have quite a few folks who have been here since the very beginning. The folks who have been here since the beginning, they have not left. And that's really important to us, to have great tenure. So I think we're getting things done, and we'll continue to, again, just make sure that we're retaining the best talent in the best ways that we know how. And it's talking to experts like you, Mawulom, and saying, hey, what are you seeing? How do you retain talent? Maybe we can implement something similar internally.
That is wonderful. I mean, you touched on a number of things that really speaks volumes. And the key takeaway for me is psychological safety. Your team has created an environment where employees have trust and feel psychologically safe enough to come to the HR team when they're having a bad day. And oftentimes these conversations are seeds that can be rooted out and allow for growth and connection. I look at these friction points as opportunities for connection. And it sounds like what you've done is Safe Breach, and what the team has done is essentially create a process and a system that nurtures that. And I'm currently in the Bay Area. The tenure of startups, unfortunately, it's not as long, just because of the churn and many other factors. So it's impressive to hear what the team has done there. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know we're coming up on close, as we would love to get some questions from the audience answered. So what I really want to do is send gratitude to everyone for joining us today. And we're actually going to share 2 articles that provide a step-by-step guide into how to build scalable and sustainable hiring practices embedded with diversity, equity, inclusion practices. And for all of you listening out there, as we enter the season of reflection, if you find yourself in a position of influence within your company, take some lessons from Tina. Whether your company is at seed stage or scaling mode, or is a mature global organization, consider how your team communicates, collaborates, disagrees, and celebrates. Create cultures that nurture growth and frameworks to monitor and iterate said growth. So thank you again.
Listen, some great advice there, and what you've just said there, Mawulom, at the end there, all about highlighting that psychological safety, something that's been a thread over these last couple of days here at HR Week 2021, really making sure employees feel comfortable that they can share their voice, and that voice is heard, certainly at the early stage, so it doesn't really build and get to a stage which gets out of control a little bit later on. So some great advice, great insights as well. Unfortunately, don't have any questions coming through right now, but that doesn't mean people are not engaged and have been listening, certainly. So listeners, once again, you're curious, you'd like to know more, Mawulom, Tina, reach out to both of them, and I'm sure they'll be very happy to connect with you, and again, hopefully keep that conversation moving forward. All that leaves me now to say is thank you so much, Mawulom and Tina, for your insights. It's probably early morning where you are, am I right? Or mid-morning?
A little bit early for Mawulom.
Yeah, it's
what's the time there?
6:50 a.m. on the West Coast.
No way, 6:50. Right, okay, done well. You're doing well. We're almost, well, no, we're kind of like mid-afternoon here, so we've had our day. You're just starting yours. Tina, what's the time there?
It's almost 10 a.m., so it's a little later.
A little later. Listen, thank you for your expertise and naturally for your valuable time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right, so there we have it. Again, some great advice and ideas on really hiring and keeping, retaining that great talent, as we heard yesterday as well. The candidate experience, all about how that is becoming even more competitive, growing, getting really strong as well. So keeping employees, keeping talent is getting even harder because they have so many more options to be pulled away. So it's kind of like the pushing and pulling idea, but hopefully again walk away with a few ideas and insights right now. Okay, let's move on. We move on now to our next session. We'll be starting in about just under 4 minutes time, so that gives you a nice enough time to spend 4 minutes to do exactly as you wish. Bathroom, cigarettes. I'm not encouraging smoking here, naturally. Something to drink, and I'm not encouraging alcohol either. A walk, a podcast, whatever you want to do. But 4 minutes. After those 4 minutes, come back and join us because we'll be jumping straight into people analytics, a debate on that, how and where to start. So join us back in about 4 minutes time.